Right. The last thing I wanted to share with you is the story outline. And once the story outline is mastered, then you will be able to not only share with your audience how and why you're so passionate about your work, but also bring them on a journey of transformation that your work can take them on. So the biggest challenge is when people share their stories, oftentimes it's not relatable, or it falls flat, or the arc goes over and people get bored and they check out. So the solution is to really understand the structure of a story so that you can really nail each part of it and be able to inspire and encourage your potential clients to move through those stages. So the first part of a story is your high point. So where you are right now because of your product or because of your service, where you are right now personally. So it's a high point. And the second part of the story is your low point. So this is the part where you talk about your life wasn't always like this. There was a time in your life where you actually felt pretty low. But what was that in the context of, before you found out the solution that you offered? And then the turning point is the next part. And this is the part where you remember at what point in your low point did things turn around and that you actually went from problem world to potential solution world. And that is the place where you can find out, okay, what is that switch flip that I also need, that I went through so that I can inspire my potential clients to also go through. And then after that, you get to a high point again. And this allows you to do X, like what this allows you to do. So it follows a typical hero's journey formula. And when you know all these different points of your story, then you're going to be able to not only communicate your humanity, your vulnerability in the low points, you get to be very, very real and authentic and really share your heart. Some people's businesses began because their children were going through a really hard time, and that's how they realized that that's what was needed to support the family and also support their kids, right? The woman that I just shared with you, one of my clients, like, she went through her low point because she actually saw her husband walk with another woman, and they were walking on the street and they crossed paths, and she just remembered that moment, and he didn't even acknowledge her. And that was the moment of her low point. And so you can imagine, what was that low point that relates to your story that can be so it's a jarring moment. And you know what that moment is. For me, when I was going through my corporate work, I actually had a disease for 15 years. And I still remember staring at the toilet bowl and having so much anxiety and stress that I was throwing up for 10 times a day. And so that was really, really tough. And I just remembered reaching out to all kinds of doctors, all kinds of Eastern, Western, medicine, alternative medicine. And that's what really led me down my spiritual journey as well, because nothing worked. And I had it for 15 years. It was very tiring for a really young girl at that time to go through. And I was just like, my life is gonna be really sucky if this is what it's gonna be like for another 50, 60 years. I don't want it, and so that was my really, really big low point in my life, because on the outside, I had the successes of being at a top advertising firm and I was doing my master's degree, and I was overachieving, but yet on the inside I was dying, and I couldn't tell anyone. I had 3 live-in boyfriends. My parents, nobody knew, because I was just ashamed that I even had an issue, and I thought I was ungrateful. So that was my low point. And then after searching the world for answers, I finally found, I even went to all the way to Peru to explore shamanic traditions, even though everyone else thought it wasn't as popular as it is today or as mainstream. So everyone thought I was just going to Machu Picchu. And, but that didn't work either. So I was even more stuck. So, so, so what I ended up happening was I found another even stronger plant medicine in a retreat center. And by that time I had taken all my coaching certificates. And so I knew that I could actually be my own sitter during that time. I just needed other people to support. And it was during this deep, deep meditation where I asked myself a question. Am I ready to let this disease go? And the answer, before I even knew what was happening, before I even finished my question, was yes. Yes to you, and yes to serving who you want to serve and who you're here to serve. So I knew from that point in time that I had to leave the safety and security of a monthly paycheck and jump headfirst into entrepreneurship and do the work that I'm on earth to do. And that has really brought all of this work together. That's why I'm showing up here and sharing this work with you guys. And that's why you can feel the type of connection that I have with the work that I do, as it is something that is a path that I couldn't not do. It was a deal with my body. So you can see that was my high point, low point, transition point, where I asked myself, am I ready to let this go? And then now back to the high point. I get to serve all of the people that I love, and everyone who shows up in front of me and works with me ends up being some of my I love them, I love the work that they do. And it's beautiful. So it's been amazing. One of our last clients actually made so much. She made high six figures in a weekend just by being of service and being herself and serving women. And another one, she is a soul guide, and she was having such a hard time creating abundance, even though she was so much of service. And my heart broke because she was such a wonderful human being and just gave and gave and gave. And she recently closed a 12K week. And so I know that the time for light workers and for people who are doing good in the world is here, and people need us and need people like this right now. So it's an honor to be with all of you today, to share this way, to share your messages loud and wide.